Hello and welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. And our guest today, I'm real excited for our guest. This is somebody that when we started following the union, as we have now for, let's see, we started getting involved in 2019
Yeah.
together. There was a podcast called Duke by the River, and I used to, along with the free kick, periodically tune in. I was kind of just getting into soccer podcasting then, and this gentleman was on the podcast. And then we started running into him when we started going to Sons of Ben tailgates and reading some of his writings throughout the years. And as the years progressed, started becoming more and more interacting with him at these tailgates. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today needs no real introduction. He is now the new Sons of Ben president, and you'll see him around the river end a lot at U2 games, and that's Justin Friedberg.
Thank you guys, and God, Kyle, that brings back some memories. Feels like a long time ago.
It really was, and I remember listening to those podcasts a long time ago, and yeah, like Johnny and all that, getting his start and everything, just a long time ago. So,
Yes.
but
Very very much so.
yeah, it's very mess. But before we get started, what are we wearing today, Julie?
All right, so I veered off the wearing union stuff today once again because I'm sorry, but it is Super Bowl week and the Eagles are in the Super Bowl on Sunday and I couldn't be more excited and they're going to be wearing the midnight green, so am I. I have my midnight green Brian Dawkins jersey on. So, yes.
And I I was slacking today.
Yeah, you are.
I literally got home, was coaching, and then we sat down. Justin got on. I'm like, oh, I'm still wearing what I was wearing coaching. So I'm wearing my TYR thin hoodie that I wear all the time.
That is
So
nice though.
it is nice and comfortable in the winter and
They're
summer.
like our team sponsor for our swim team too. So
And I see Justin's got some Sons of Ben merch. So Justin, what are you
Yeah,
what?
I have our the Sons of Ben the Icarus jersey that we designed with Delaware Subaru last year. Um, I the last time I made a podcast appearance on anything, I was on Morning Kick Around last Friday, and uh, I have a bit of a reputation for being a jersey kind of show connoisseur, an aficionado, if you will, and
Yeah.
I was not wearing a jersey, and I got rightfully told that I was not living up to my brand. So I figured, you know, coming on both as a friend and as a president, I figured, I'm a little slacking in the Sons of Ben merch department, but I am a you know, jersey fanatic, and Icarus does make some good stuff, and I love this jersey, so figured why not throw it on?
oh, absolutely. I wore on the last pod we recorded. I wore an Icarus jersey. That was from the United Soccer Coaches Convention from Anaheim in 2024. So yeah, they make some great stuff and
They really
absolutely.
do. They really do. And I know, didn't you, when you were, are you still with Sporting Serotonin?
I am
And you
still
guys
this
do Icarus.
Yep, and we are in the process of redesigning our logo and hopefully coming out with another jersey for this season, which I am very excited about the redesign. So stay tuned on Instagram at Sporting Serotonin. It'll be coming out before the season starts, and it looks good. Is all I'll tease.
I mean, like we told Paul, you guys have some bangers of jerseys. Like
Hmm.
throughout the
Yeah,
years, man. Like every year I'm like, man, they just keep coming. Like I forget which one it was. Was it the hexagonal one that was like,
Hmm.
oh, this is like 3, 4 years ago. Like it was
our
really
very
good.
first one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was our first season, and gosh, we made the mistake of designing two all black jerseys,
Yeah.
and when a lot of teams wear black, it's not the best. You gotta wear it inside out.
Mhm.
Um, Myself, I know right now we have two goalkeeper kits. We have my what I call my kaleidoscope one, or the Jorge Campos inspired one, which is very bright and I love it. And I also designed a short sleeve because goalie jerseys are usually not designed to be short sleeve, and I have one based on the Bristol City kit from I think about 2 or 3 years ago. That theirs was a honeycomb, so it was a similar design. But yeah, when it comes to sporting serotonin, everyone loves our purple, city, the vibes kit. Uh,
Hmm.
and yeah, when it comes to it, Paul, just don't miss. And it's hard to not just consistently buy every jersey just because it just looks good.
It
Right?
really, really does.
Absolutely. And I know like I'm a sucker for good jerseys. Every time, and Kyle knows it's like some of our friends joke, it's like every time the Union, for instance, puts something new out, like, the special ones and stuff, the warm-up tops, they're like, well, Jillian's gonna go buy that.
Yep,
So
that's always
yeah.
that is always um those are at your MO now. Like you are the connoisseur, not as much as Justin, but
I'm
you
the
are
merch
the
I'm the merch
connoisseur.
queen around here though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are.
Oh, I can't.
I've toned mine down. I definitely was the pandemic was a big push, and then when I moved out in the summer of 21, it was going through and going, oh my God, I have enough closet space, but I definitely need to trim the amount of jerseys down. So I think I'm in the 40 to 50 range at the moment. Obviously, it grows as I go to, last year I went to another Hartford Athletic game because I love going to USL especially. And I have a friend that actually works for the team, so I try to get up there when I can. And all the time, he's showing me a new jersey, and I'm just like, I'm gonna try to buy it. Like, you're being a bad influence, and my friends know me too well that that'll get me to buy the jersey.
Hmm.
For sure, for sure. We've had that problem at several, like at Texas at Soccer 90. I'm like, oh, I could buy this one, I could buy this one, I could buy this one. It was like,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So where can people find us?
All right, so you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on whole lot of places at this point. And probably not worth listing all of them because just basically if you get a podcast, you'd find us. We're on socials at Twitter. We're at TOTWAG. We're also on Blue Sky at TOTWAG. And we're on Facebook and Instagram at The One Team We Agree On. We have our YouTube channel, The One Team We Agree On. Our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. You can find me on TikTok at Jillian_Almany. And I think that covers it.
Yeah, and before we get started, just from our last episode with our friend Todd Lewis, highest 48-hour listening rate. So thank
Ooh.
you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, like we hit an all-time high in 48 hours. I don't know, the analytics were showing that on Spotify. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, we have a couple new articles out on our website,
Yeah, because there's
which
been a lot of news.
and we'll get into that today. So, but before we get started, Justin, for the people, maybe it's the first time they've heard you. Um, talk about how you started following the Union.
So I've been around soccer my entire life. I grew up in a soccer household.
Hmm.
My dad played Division III soccer and he'll love me for shouting this out, Washington College, right in the
Nice.
Eastern Shore of Maryland. My mom also played a bit. My sister and I both played travel soccer from Mount Laurel United, and I've not only loved playing the sport, but I've loved watching the sport. As early as I can remember, I remember, in the 90s trying to find, the one grainy picture of whatever Premier League game was on, which at the time was always a difficult one to get. And at the time, for me was Manchester United, and at 5 years old, in '86, I remember watching that treble-winning season, and it kind of got me hooked. And since then, when the link opened in 2003, I remember going to the Manchester United Barcelona game as a part of the same kickoff series, and I could not believe the atmosphere. And of course, at the time, you know, the MLS was still in its infancy, and 2003, 2004, I'll admit, there was two, in our area, as we know, there's two choices. You pick the Metro Stars, now the Red
Mhm.
Bulls at the time, or you watch DC United. 2004, obviously, we all know. Freddie Adu enters the league. And so for me, it was, oh, well, I'll watch DC United. The MLS was kind of an interesting thing. And as it, got on into high school, I was trying to fall off with MLS a bit. And then you know, the Sons of Ben come around and, we're they're supporting a team that doesn't exist yet. Like it was kind of a crazy idea, and I was kind of kept into it. And obviously, those are early days of Facebook, where Twitter was in its infancy, MySpace was still a thing,
Mm.
and then all of a sudden the team gets announced, and it was, oh my God, Philadelphia's going to have a soccer team. Like to me, I was like, finally, I get to have that feeling of supporting my local professional squad. And, you know, 2010 rolls around. I am a junior in high school, and I remember getting in line in security for the first opening game against DC United, and I remember distinctly missing the national anthem because Vice President Joe Biden was in attendance, and so security was a little higher. And I remember getting in, and of course, we were stationed in the second deck, right under the big scoreboard, and the game was 2-0, and we were obviously losing our minds, and then DC ties it 2-2, and of course, we were right under the DC United fans, and I got beer and all cups and all that spilled onto me, and I was like, oh no, here we go, Philadelphia is at finest, is at it again, and Seba completes the hat trick, and my dad, and I, I'm a scrawny high school kid, and I turn around and proceeded to, flip the bird to all these DC fans, and it's like, I was like, man, this is what soccer is like. Like I could not believe it, and I went to, the first three games at the link, and then I got hooked, and I will admit, as I got into college. I went to college out your ways, your College of Pennsylvania alumnus.
Mhm.
And when I came home for breaks, I just try, I went to at least one or two games a year. And I was, obviously we all know the tough, heartbreaking loss to Houston in our first year in the playoffs, where we kind of got shown up a bit. Brad Davis, I will never forgive you. uh, you know, going in, and then as college went on, I was still following, and obviously the you have the two U.S. Open Cup heartbreaks in 2013, 2015. You're going, oh no, like this is starting to feel familiar as a Philadelphia fan.
Right.
Um, Graduate college, and I get a my first adult job, and the next season, 2016, I was like. And I asked one of my good friends. I said, "Hey, do you want to get season tickets to the Union?" And like not regular seats, but like in the River End. Like I'm like every time I get tickets, I always try to get them in the River End. I'm like, let's go for it. And we missed the first game because we got the tickets right after the first game, and my friend couldn't make it to the first home game after that. So I took my dad. Well, that first game just so happened to be Bendick face. It was the Barnetta free kick against Orlando, the game winner in stoppage time, right in front of it, and we were right there. And I, like, that was the kind of start of my, you know, just I was like, oh my God, I like this is exciting. Like I like
Mhm.
this is what it means. Like with soccer, as we both all know, it's just a different atmosphere to every sport. It's always tough to compare to other sports, and it's always tough to tell people kind of how it compares. And I would just say, you just gotta be there. Like it
Mhm.
just being there in the stadium is just something different. And ever since 2016, I've had my tickets in section 139, row D. I started on one side of the row, and my second season, 2017, I moved directly to the other side, so I'm kind of right on the, right smack up against the corner there, 140, and yeah, I have, I've loved every moment of it.
Oh, absolutely. So many good memories and I love that you brought up like you really don't know what it's like till you actually go to a game. Like it's just the atmosphere and been trying to convince my sister to come to a game because she's all like, whatever. And um like my brother came to a game and his fiance and like they came to a game last year and they came actually well they tried to come to a game, the RSL game, and then they had to leave because they had like an emergency at home, but they came then finally to a game. It was Brujo's last game. So they saw an exciting one, but they had the best time. And I always tell people, I'm like, come to a game. It's a lot of fun, even if you're not into soccer as much as some of us. Like, you'll have a good time. But um, you know, uh, what would be some of your favorite memories then, for the club, like that you've witnessed?
So there are a few, and I think the first one that comes to mind, and I think it's just because of the like everything involved in that day. It has to be our first, playoff win in 2019.
Hmm.
I remember this is before I was really tailgating with the Sons of Ben Foley.
Hmm.
I was in the back corner of Lot C, way
Hmm.
behind the boot room and all that, and it
Hmm.
was pouring rain, and I remember kind of like huddling together under a couple tents, and I remember our dear friend El Parcero Johnny
Hmm.
passing on a bottle of Guaro and trying to keep warm, and at that point it went from pouring rain to like complete mist. Like it was
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
difficult to see, and I remember the moment that Marco Fabian's goal deflected shot went in. I remember, that moment of just like kind of, I will admit, just kind of blacking out from jumping up and down so much that the blood rushed to my head, and all I remember is my arms flailing up and down as I'm like going ballistic, and like the whole stadium, everyone's soaking wet, everyone's
Hmm.
soggy. The Red Bulls and their fans have been giving us shit for 100 plus minutes, and like that moment just like I had never heard the stadium erupt louder, and with that being our first real taste of true like, oh my God, we've done something like in a big moment, it was huge. So that really was definitely one of the biggest. But I think you know one that really sticks with me is gotta be the playoff PK shootout against Nashville.
Hmm.
Or because I was at the Independent Supporters Council conference this year in Minneapolis and talking with some Nashville fans and talking about that moment, and some of them were there, and I remember just saying like, Dre makes those two saves, and Alex Mule skies it over the bar, and I think there's a photo around somewhere, at least on Discord I have, of me just like everyone's going around and I'm just going, like my I'm just going ballistic in my lime green long sleeve and my bright orange hat. And I remember just kind of just being like this was a playoff run. Like this is what it means to, start to have success. And then honestly, I think we can all agree probably one of the top moments is the revenge game, is the 2022 Eastern Conference
Hmm.
Final. Like I distinctly remember being in the lot in 21 and getting the news actually before everyone else did,
Hmm.
um, through someone coming by the lot who was, hanging out with us and saying like, yeah, the whole team came down with COVID, and then 2 hours later the news breaks, and we're all like, what? And then seeing Aurelian Colin, almost will the team to victory, like coming so close. As soon as 22 hit, I was like, no, this is gonna be like, I was like, this is gonna be different. This feeling, and the game was close. We weren't
Hmm.
sure, and then you know, the dagger, Corey Burke,
Hmm.
Hmm.
emphatically putting that home, kind of made it real of, holy shit, we're going to the MLS Cup final. Like,
Hmm.
what is happening right now? And
Yeah.
I remember like staying in the stadium almost like the whole time until everyone left, and then going back to the lot, and we all had, all these leftover beers and champagne, and being like everyone's like, kind of that moment of Talladega Nights, I don't know what
Yeah.
to do with my hands. Like that was kind of everybody. We're like, we won. What's happening right now? And so like, obviously, all the success and all the highs and the lows of being a Union fan over the years, because there have been lows. Like we
Hmm.
all
Oh
know
yeah.
there have been some lows, and but I think that moment of being like, okay, so this is what we can do, and then obviously, unfortunately, ends in heartbreak that season. But like, I would still say we were in the arguably the best MLS Cup final
Hmm.
like
Mhm.
in history. Like I don't think it's really a tough argument to say that that was one of the most entertaining finals that I've ever seen. Whether it was heartbreaking or not,
For sure.
that's kind of the energy you want. And to be like, yeah, my club was a part of that, it kind of fills you with, obviously some unfortunate, screw you, Gareth Bale. But but
I don't speak his name.
but it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things that like it good and bad, it's kind of what makes me glad to be a fan of this club, and it it's kind of what the experiences are. There's always gonna be the good, there's always gonna be the bad, but with Philly, it's just we say, don't care how good you are, as long as you feel like you give a damn and you honor, you put in an effort. We could go 0 and 34. If it looks like you're giving a damn, we'll be like, all right, yeah, we sucked, but at least we're having a good time and we're supporting the team. So
Yeah, no, you bring up an interesting point because earlier on you talked about like, getting hooked. I think for us anyway, 2019, being at that first playoff win, seeing that goal, and I think we were,
We were up in 138 for that, and
yeah, we were like right
man,
at the top on
yeah.
the left side of the goalkeeper. We saw that ball just curl right in. Everybody's going nuts, and that's kind of where we're like, oh, yeah, we're gonna get
I
like
mean,
I can do this every weekend. This is
yeah.
amazing. And now to see our journey evolve how it has,
Mhm.
it's quite refreshing. But you're right. People need to go see a game, no matter how good or bad the team is, because there's moments like that that can happen. You have the El Seno game, Brujo's final match. There are those moments that I think fans really miss out on. And
Yeah.
I think for me also, Corey Burke's salute. Is
Yes. Oh
still
my
an
gosh.
iconic moment for
That
me.
that was iconic. I mean, that game was just incredible.
And
The
not just
feeling,
being Leon
especially
Flock, too.
oh yeah. And the thing is, like we've watched that Corey Burke goal like so many times
Yeah.
too. Like, love it. And then like the fact that Andre just sprinted the whole way across the field and jumps up on him there too. That was great. But yeah, like the feeling of that game after the COVID game the year before, and the fact that we all know Union would have won the MLS Cup
Yeah.
that year, I think, because I think they go and beat Portland if they,
Portland.
yeah. So, it is what it is. It's one of those things somewhere in the multiverse is a world where, Union win that, or they don't go that stupid party and get COVID
Yeah.
protocol, whatever. But, you know, um, but it's like, and even like the MLS Cup, like even if I could go back and I'd know the outcome, I'd still go to LA. I'd
Oh,
still go through all
absolutely.
that.
It's
That
amazing.
hurt like, crazy seeing how that ended, but what an experience going. And that was such an entertaining game. It was very stressful those last couple minutes, but you know, it was definitely some memories. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then speaking of the Union, now we're in the off season. We're less than what now, 3 weeks away. We're under 3 weeks away from
It's coming up
kickoff.
soon.
Um, the 2025 season. Uh, Justin, what have you been your thoughts of the all season moves? You hear fans saying, "Oh, we need more, we need more," but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
You know, listen, as much as I try to, in the off season, I always try to not do a social media cleanse, but I always try to like kind of back off because, you know, social media can be a tough place to be on for a lot of reasons, um, especially these days. But I mean, listen, I hear all the talk. I know, especially early on in the off season, you know, Jim getting let go. One signing up until, especially to the new year, not having a coach, um, then, being linked with a few people who didn't never went as much farther than a rumor that didn't seem to get off the ground, then getting a coach, and then obviously the McGlynn trade, the most recent signing. Um, like I've been telling people, I kind of don't know how to feel because again, we don't know what Carnell's pressing system is going to look like. Like a lot of people look at his time in St. Louis and say, "Oh, well, it was a failure." It's like, well, no, his first season, that expansion side overachieved and
Right.
got
Mm-hmm.
first in the West. Now they got thumped
Mm-hmm.
by KC in the playoffs, but like the underlying numbers showed that they were a pretty dominant offensive force.
Hmm.
And it wasn't like they had one guy scoring 20, 25 goals. The scoring was pretty spread out. And, obviously his second season was not nearly as good. In fact, it was abysmal to the
Mm-hmm.
point
Right.
where he got let go. I've heard conflicting stuff from St. Louis fans as to whether they
Yeah.
liked him or
Same.
not.
Same.
Like, it's kind of a tough gauge. And same thing when we got Sam and Dinner in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
a lot of mixed reviews. So it's like, okay, there's a truth somewhere in that middle, and I'll be honest, and I've said this, and obviously it's not always the most popular opinion, but while I love Jim, he was a great guy, a great coach. I think you could understand the move to move on. I think it's one of those things where people say, "Oh well, he was doing a lot with a little," and he was one of the longest tenured coaches, and they'd point to Peter Vermees, and I'm like, well, that's another coach that probably shouldn't have his job, and he's won titles, he's won, cups, and so when it came down to it, it's like, okay, I can understand a refresh. Um, Obviously now the pressure being ramped solely on Ernst, I think that's
Yeah.
if like that's a pretty clear signal that okay, this is Ernst, this is your guy. Show why the decision was right. So there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of question marks, and it's mainly because we don't know what the team looks like. Now, obviously, we've heard, the team talk and say how, everyone's pushed for their positions and, the energy's up and the practices are a little harder, but they've gotten enjoyment, and I think I will say it's kind of like with most things, they might be the most informed, the most in shape team in the league. Whether that translates to results, we don't know. But I think the unknown and the kind of uneasiness that we have is kind of leaching into tension and uneasiness, and I think it's something that you can't totally combat, but you can do your best to not stoke the flames because it's like let's give the guys the coach a chance. Let's give the guys a chance to figure out if this system works for them. And so I've tried to go into this season kind of being like, you know, win, lose, let's bring the vibes back. Like that's
Hmm.
kind of what I like. Bring the excitement. Bring as much of a positive energy as you can. Because listen, the results might be tough, or we might start 2 months into the season, top of the league. We don't know. We could be wooden spoon contenders, or we could be pushing for top four. I, I honestly don't know, and so that's kind of like it's been a while since we've had this moment where it's a lot of unknown, but I kind of like that. Like I like to kind of have that feeling of like I have no idea what's gonna happen, but hey, let's enjoy the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to approach it that way too. It's kind of like how I've looked at the Flyers like the last 2 years. They're building and let's just kind of enjoy the process here. And they could overachieve and, everything. But as much as I mean, I love Jim to death. Jim, great person and everything, and great coach. And, that being said, yeah, like I'm like, all right, let's give Carnell a chance. Some of the stuff on social media is just so negative all the time, and just like
Mm.
let's just let's take a breath here and at least give it a chance. Especially every time they announce, oh, there's this homegrown signing or new signing, and everyone's just like, oh, this is awful. So, whatever. But I'm
Yeah,
interested to see how it plays out, honestly.
and that's kind of where I'm at. You bring up a perfect thing. Ernst put all his chips on the table
Yep.
with this, moving on with the Cardinal from Jim. So now at the end of the day, there's no one else to point a finger to. So he's got, he's either gonna be right or,
Hmm.
it's not gonna work out. So, but I think at the end of the day, we have to give it a chance. Everybody, fans, everybody covering the team, they got to give Carnell a chance. You can't go in. You got to be objective and call the balls and strikes the way you see them. Having said that, I am very intrigued on this season. And we're gonna get into it right here in a second, but with some of these moves that have been made, obviously Jack getting shipped off, as much as I'm a huge fan of Jack McGlynn. I think it's very fair to say he did not, always fit the system that the Union are trying to play. I think Houston's gonna be a much better fit.
Yeah, and when it comes down to it, you know, we want to see him thrive. We want him to
Exactly.
go be successful wherever he goes. I mean, yeah, big fans of Jack here. And, you know, again, I think, we've said this before, he could very well just be a rental in Houston and go on to Europe. It could just be a
Yeah.
stepping stone. But and also him going and representing the United States, with the national team and everything. We'll continue to follow him and cheer him on. Just as I think Ale said on Jack's post, it's like, just don't score against us because I'm going to tackle you, is what
No,
Ale said, which was funny. But yeah, so
and being the fifth team, like you said, Justin, in the league this year, we got like young players. We also have
yeah,
a lot of veterans that have a lot of wear and tear. So it's gonna be interesting. There's a lot of unknowns,
yeah,
and just I am so intrigued by this season just to see some of these younger guys
I
get
am too.
up mixed with some of these veteran players
Yeah,
that we have.
yeah,
And
because we've seen you too, like tons. We've seen a lot of these younger guys, tons.
now we
And
know the jump from MLS
oh,
next
for
pro
sure, Jim always
is
would say
big.
that. I am intrigued to see how some of these guys, if they get a chance, what they might do. Guys like CJ, like Frankie, Neil, some of these guys, see if they get a chance and what they can do because we've seen them play at a high level, um, at the next pro level, of course. But you never know. We can see how they do.
It's yeah, yeah, Justin. So we're gonna talk real quick here. Couple moves last 2 days since we last recorded. First off, Union announced the homegrown deal to Neil Pierre. Neil now is the 26th homegrown, I believe.
Yes,
We have an article on our website, so he signed. Uh,
17 years old and what, 6'5", and I mean, like I said, he's the real deal. You know.
and then today, Philadelphia Union announced the acquisition of Serbian defensive midfielder, I guess you could call him that. I mean,
Yeah.
he's gonna probably play the defensive mid position for Bradley, but you know, Jovan Juk Lukic. Oh my gosh,
You're
almost
Lukic?
messed that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Lukic.
I believe. Yeah, and I think that's how we say it correctly. But
Lukic. Yeah, so and he's gonna be signed through this year, and then he has an option, I believe, 28 and 29. Is that correct?
yeah, we'll have to double check that. But
Yeah, I think it's yeah. So, Justin, I'm curious your thoughts on those two moves. First with Neil, and then Jovan.
So Neil, listen, as you both know, I was at pretty much all of the U2 home games,
yeah.
and Neil, man, he is a beast. Like
Mm-hmm.
for someone his size, because when like taller
Mm-hmm.
center backs are a good thing, but also when you think tall, you think lanky, you think cumbersome, you think someone who's gonna be a little slower. He's one of the most athletic center backs I've seen. Like
Hmm.
his ability to close down the space with a striker who thinks he's in one on one is phenomenal. And I mean, listen, the last 2 years, he's been in the best 11 for the GA Cup,
Mm-hmm.
and not purely just because he wasn't even the best center back in the tournament,
Hmm.
but just because he was one of the best players on the field by far. And I do think he will still obviously spend most of his time with you too.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
And I said this last year, and because I was at the heartbreak that was the Next Pro final
Yep.
with Kyle and some of the members of Bridge Brigade. Um, I still think he needs to, put on a little more muscle. Like
Mm-hmm.
for a guy his size, he sometimes gets bodied off the ball a
Hmm.
little easier, and you know, next pro strikers are fine and all, but when you have, some, 6'4", you know, 200-pound Serbian striker,
Mm-hmm.
muscling his way past you, that's a little different. Like, and so his football IQ is top notch.
Hmm.
His athleticism is unreal. I just think kind of like some players, like it was like Brendan. When Brendan his first season was really lanky and got bodied off the ball super quick, and then you came back the next season and added a little bit of muscle, and you could see that he was better on the ball and he didn't get bodied off nearly as much. I think Neil still has that. Again, if he gets thrown into the fire, I don't think he'll be out of place, but I definitely think this is somewhere where having some experience on that back line grows. Now, obviously they signed the young Argentine center back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now I do hopefully maybe at some point during the season expect them to maybe bring in a vet. I would love to see an MLS vet kind of just to set the tone. While Glasses is a vet, it always helps to have that bench player who may
Hmm.
not see the field, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like when Colin was there, but you kind of have him there to really help, teach the young guys. Um, and as for our young Serbian, as our friend Ken messaged me once and said, "Oops, all DMs," and I went, "Yeah, there's a lot of defensive mids in our
Mm-hmm.
in our midfield." I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know that much about him. I know he has a lot of caps for the U Serbian squad, and I know he's been pushing to the senior squad. Um, Listen, he's gonna be one of those players probably that's gonna be thrown in that kind of six or an eight. I don't know the formation yet that Bradley's running. I've heard talks again of the back three making an appearance, which me, a tactics nerd, I love a good back three. I
Hmm.
love those wing backs. Um, so we'll see. it's kind of unfortunate that him and maybe any other rumor signings are going to come in so close to the season. Now, he was already in Florida, which people were like, how is he already there? Well, I mean, this is just the deal being announced. Like,
Yeah.
the
Right.
rumor was there. He was probably already in Florida.
Hmm.
Um, I am curious. I know they have the Union have a friendly, I believe, on Friday against
Yep.
Hmm.
Cincinnati. It's
Yep.
going to be
5 p.m.
streamed.
Yep.
Um, I would love to at least catch some of that and see how he progresses. If I assume he will get some time. Um, again, a lot of unknowns, and I think you have a player that, as Ernst has said, he's got that athleticism, he's got that speed, he's got that like you look at Danley last year.
Hmm.
I mean, God, his closeout speed.
Hmm.
I remember in the game, I believe it was on the road against Columbus. Uh, he there was a play where he was beat, and it looked like the midfielder was gone, and I see Danley take like 3, 4 strides,
Yep.
and he closes 20 yards in the span of like not even 2 seconds tops, and I went, oh my God, this guy's gonna be like something good for this midfield.
Yeah.
And so if he has that kind of speed, that kind of tactical awareness, I want like in our pressing system, the press essentially is supposed to be a twofold. You want your front players to kind
Hmm.
of, close off that space, and then if they play it over the top, you want those defensive mids to essentially close that space. Get second on the ball tops, and you want that person to try to spin the ball back, or you pin that guy in that kind of in that box, depending on how he sets up the formation. So again, a lot of unknowns, but I'm kind of curious, like kind of
Right.
it breeds something where I'm like, I don't know how this guy is gonna play, and I'm kind of okay with that. Like, it's not the flashy name that obviously we all would love to see, but hey, it's at least something, and it's at least something that we can build on. However, Bradley sees him fitting into this new system.
Yeah, it could be like, a Kai Wagner situation for all we
Mhm.
know. He could end up breaking out. And one thing I'm actually really excited to see is Danley, with a full, preseason, full season with the Union, see what he can do. Because, yeah, he really showed some good stuff in the short amount of time that really he was there for that season.
Yeah, no, I think you could even see, a diamond of Gazdag up top and then Danley Sullivan and then, this new guy playing that defensive mid at the top of the spine. So, I mean, that would be very curious for me. And I think that because Danley's played that kind of outside for Haiti at times. So it's curious, I just now again, their highlights. I know Mark had put together YouTube with all the highlights. And again, you see the quickness, you see I said kind of bully ball, but it's almost like skill tactic, like how he can just make those turnovers. So he'll be one to watch. Now, could he turn out to a Kai or could he be like a Richard Odata who, you only make see a friendly and then he's spending time down you too. Who knows?
Or he could be sexy season. He can make all
Yeah.
this all this push and then literally never see the field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So again, a lot of unknowns, and I think that is to your point, like, some of the fans' frustration. But, you know, one of the things I want to ask you is we know Parnell came up in the Red Bull system. He understands that press, he understands that kind of style of play. What do you see with this current roster outside of these unknowns who could benefit from that style of play? And who has a really opportunity to shine that you're kind of like, man, I can't wait to see this,
Um, it is going to be interesting
right?
because I think there's this misconception with the Red Bull style system that it's going to be go, go, go all the time.
Right.
And we've seen with past Red Bull teams where by the 65th minute they're gassed, and if they're not having a commanding lead, they're starting to self-capitulate. Um, I think, we've talked about Danley, being someone who could benefit. I think two people that really could benefit from this new, I'd say three people that could benefit from this new system are gonna be Mikael Ua because I think he's not given credit for the pressing that he's done in the gym system, and I think he still had double digit goals this season, and I think a lot of people were ready to label him as a flop when like him and Ty were clearly starting to work well
Hmm.
together in the second half of the year when Ty finally got
Mhm.
going. So I think he's one that could really benefit. Um, I'm gonna say a CJ Olney. I think is someone who, if you're gonna give the young guys more opportunities,
Hmm.
CJ is what I think Jack could have been if he had a little more athleticism. Because I loved
Fair.
Jack,
Hmm.
but the defensive side of his game was not the best. He was not the most athletic in terms of, the recovery pace. He was a deep lying midfielder, a la a Pirlo, that's going to sit back, is going to ping a 30-yard ball over the top. Well, CJ can do that, but he also wants to bring the ball up. He wants to connect with the midfield. He wants to be able to help shape and help, supplement the attack. Kind of like I could see him turning into, how Ollie's been in a lot of his career. So he's one that I can see. But if we're talking pressing and someone who seems to have legs for days, I mean, we gotta mention Quadzilla, Quinn
Hmm.
Sullivan.
Yeah,
Like, Quinn Sullivan seems perfectly made for a pressing system. He's someone who, first minute, 75th minute, I don't see him getting tired. I just see him constantly going and going and going. And I know, that can be a little bit of a product of youth, but he's got that athleticism that works so well. And around the box, he is so shifty. He can just create, those interchanges. And I think having a little more of that athleticism, a little more of that impulse to kind of just go and kind of just try something and see if it works. I think a lot of that influx of youth, while you still have some vets, is going to help. And I think Quinn could be the major recipient of some, obviously some, increased time, which I think could lead to some increased, scoring chances. And I think I'll say it now. I think there's a chance. I mean, I think he's putting up maybe 8 to 10 goals this season, and I think that would be a big step for him. And I don't see why, in this new system, why he can't help to get close to that number.
no, I tend to agree with that. I'm also very intrigued by Danley. Again, I'm curious to see how he does in this new system. Um, Especially, if you can get some of these balls over the top, like you said with Ua, how does he, from these, because, you know, Carnell said, 60, 30, 10,
Hmm.
goals in transition, attacks in transition. And that's something we saw in 2022 with Ua, where
Hmm.
there's a lot of times the ball gets turned over and he makes a run.
Yep.
That's where he really thrives, on those kind of plays, as we know. So, uh, I'm curious on those two. One player I will say, I don't know how you feel about this, that really needs to step up a little bit more is Daniel Gazdag. I mean, we can say all we want about goals, but man, assists, would love to see more 2022. I've
Yeah.
said that several times, with creating a little bit more. Um, Still like to see the scoring.
Yeah, I think with Gazdag, I mean, listen, I think he reminds me more of a Boric Dochcal
That's fair.
attack, that shooting 10 that can kind of also then kind of be a more of a shooting 10 slash
For sure.
second striker, false nine. Like, is
Mm-hmm.
that weird? So I think the problem last year was the offense felt very stagnated at
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
times. Like, there were moments where it would slow down, and that works well for Jack's game. But Gazdag likes to drop deep and likes to be on the ball. He likes to create. He
Mhm.
likes to follow up the play and likes those interchanges around the box. And if the play slows down, not that he can't create, but it kind of stifles the creativeness that he can bring. And so I don't know. I think this year will be again, he still had double digit goals, so that definitely
Right.
wasn't
Hmm.
the issue. But I think the lack of assists was definitely down to, I mean, it was kind of an up and down season for the team. And, as we said, like, the Union had a top five offense. And if it
Mhm.
wasn't for the
Hmm.
fact that our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, like, we'd been in the playoffs. We'd been in a pretty
Mhm.
solid position. Like, our offense wasn't the issue,
No.
it was our
Right.
defense.
Right.
And so I think Gazdag, again, the goals are there and they're going to be there,
Yeah.
despite the narrative that he can only score PKs because, that again, I still don't understand that narrative, but
No.
hey, it is what it is
Hmm.
with that.
Yeah.
But like if he can chip in at least five assists, like I know that sounds like a low number over 34 plus games, including all competitions, but with Gazdag, like most likely he's going to be that second or third assist. Like he's going to be that guy that's going to get the play going and then he's going to crash the box.
Hmm.
So I want the bodies in the box and I want, our other midfielders to be kind of supporting that and helping to lead it. So if he kind of takes on that role of like, I don't want him to have to drop so far deep that
Right.
he can't get up. Like that was where the disconnect was, where there was such a gap where he was having to make that cover that distance. And it's not that he can't do that. It's just I don't want to see him have to do that consistently over and over again.
Right. 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 And you're right about him. He's not a 10 in your typical 10 sense, right?
Hmm.
He's more of a false nine forward. I don't know. I've never really understood, but what he was real true position, if he has one, But again, I agree with you there that when he gets in the box, he can create
Hmm.
goals. I just think for me, I'd love to see him kind of get back to kind of what you said, where he would have like 5 to 10 assists. I think
Yeah.
that's a successful season along with the goals.
Right.
So,
Right. So let's switch gears a little bit here. Um,
oh, one
what?
thing I
Oh,
do want to correct real
okay.
quick on Lukic
Yeah.
on his club option, it's through 27, 28.
Right.
Just
That
real
is
quick.
that is correct. So as the new president of Sons of Ben, what are your goals moving forward for the supporters group?
So I think my biggest goal is to kind of I think get back to basics and
Hmm.
not like, bring back the old days, the glory days of the Sons of Ben and the River End, which I mean, listen, I've been around since the
Yeah.
beginning. The glory days is a bit of a over dramatic term. Like,
Right.
did we have glory days? Like, there were the early days. There were glorious things about them, but like so I think I want to get down to the basic. Like I want, as I said earlier, I want to bring the good vibes back. Like good or bad results, I want to just bring that sense of cohesiveness. And I know in the river end it's tough. It's and again it gets conflated. It's always called the Sons of people call it the Sons of Ben section, and then I would
Mm-hmm.
say no, it is the river end. It is the supporter section. We have corner creeps, we have KSU, we have ourselves, and then we have, a mix of, what we call the stub hubbers. We have,
Mm-hmm.
people that aren't going to cheer the whole game. Like there is a an element to it where there are things, not working against us, but there's a lot of stuff that, obviously that we can't control. But the things that we can control, we have, we're gonna have a new influx of capos coming in.
Hmm.
We're gonna have some new drummers coming in. Um, I I just want like if one thing comes from my presidency, I just want the fun to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's people say, "Oh, well, isn't it? Don't you want results?" Like, well, yeah, but I'm not the one playing on the field. I'm supporting the guy, and I will, and that should be fun. And I think as as we've had the success, and I think as the old guard kind of has gone out the door, and the new guard is going to come in. There's this, I don't want to say the lack of fun, but the vibes have definitely shifted over the years,
Hmm.
and I think when you get so used to success that last year seems like an abject failure, which by our lofty standards, yeah, I suppose so, but you're finished one spot out of the playoffs, and it truly isn't the end of the world, but
No.
to us, it understandably it can be a bit of a pivot, and obviously I understand the fans are pissed at the ownership. They're pissed you know, at Ernst. Um, but we're not the sons of Ernst. We're not the sons of Jay. We're the sons of Ben. We are supporting the union. We're supporting the 11 guys starting and all the guys on the bench and the coaches. That's what we're here for, and that should be fun. And really, I think that's my main goal is to just kind of have it be fun. Like win, lose, I want us to have a good time. And I get that it's going to be trying times this year. And I'm not oblivious to that. Like I know it's
Right.
going to be a rough season one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, I just like I want everyone you know, to be able to have a good time, and whether that be through, game day, whether that be through new merch, which we have our new merch director who
Hmm.
I am very excited to work with, Jeremy. He's got some amazing ideas. I'm really excited about the ideas that we have for this season. Um, we have our new member at large, Dawn. Um, everyone and I've mentioned to everyone on the board this year, listen, I know it's been tough the last few years, and I'm not expecting, I have taken over from Ryan, who has been around for a long
Hmm.
time, and he brought a lot and helped bring us into this new era of the Sons of Ben, and I have I thank him for that, and I want to be able to take this mantle as president, and you know as I said, I think a good leader is someone who allows the people that are already in place to do their work and support them where they need to, and I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to support my board members and support my members in helping to drive this group to be, the best it is. Because as I always tell people, yeah, I might be president, but I'm still going to be the guy handing out your beer
Mm-hmm.
at the tailgates because, like, that's where I have fun. That's where I have. But when I need to step up to leadership, when I need to be that person, I will. But to me, what's fun is the vibes
Mm-hmm.
of the tailgate, and to bringing that kind of atmosphere back. If I can do that, then I feel like I've done a bit of good. And so really, that's one of my early goals is to just bring that atmosphere, that energy back, because it's been tough and it will be tough. But, regardless of what we don't know right now, what I do know is that, we're all still forever supporters of this team. We all put our time, our effort, our hearts into this. And that's what I'm excited about. And that's what I'm excited to bring to this season. And, like I said, we could be wooden spoon winners, and I'm still gonna have a great time
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I am, with people that I now consider like a second family, and that's kind of what I enjoy. And so I want to bring that back. And if, however that that manifests for everybody is different, but as I tell people, I want that to be back, and I want that energy to feel like even in a loss, that you've had a good time.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that
Hmm.
vision with it because that's what it comes down to. And I know like we enjoy the tailgates and being there. When we started going to the games, we weren't in Sons of Ben right away, obviously. And it was like walking in, we're like seeing the Sons of Ben lot, the old one, and we're just like, wow, that looks like a great time, and
Right.
also being not in the river end at first, we're like, man, we want to be a part of that. But honestly, like we've met so many great people being at the tailgates and being in Sons of Ben, and it's gotten to the point where it's like I could go, there's been maybe one or two games where I've gone without Kyle, for instance, and gone myself, and I go and it's all good because there's so many people I know and that
Hmm.
I can enjoy my time with, and it's just a great group of people. And win or lose this season, and hopefully there will be some winning, but puts everyone in a better mood. But I think yeah, the the group is there to support the team and build that community around the team and everything. So I like that you want to get back to the basics, and you know that's great, and I hope it is really successful this year, and I'm excited to see what you bring to it.
Yeah, same here. And tough seasons. I
Hmm.
think we see a lot of, you know, from last year anyway. There was a lot of trying times at some points. We've talked about this before we went on. You know, you still the like you said, the point of a supporters group is to support the team. Um, how do you kind of re-engage some of the fans, or what thoughts do you have to re-engage the fans that maybe one time were there, maybe have gone away, but maybe eventually will come back? And is there ways you guys have thought about re-engaging past fans, and then again bringing in that next generation of Sons of Ben?
Um, those are very good questions. I think in terms of re-engaging the old fans, that's always a tough one
Right.
because for various reasons, one way or another, they might be former board members or capos who might feel burnt out. They might be people who, you know, were there during the early times and, you know, felt that the group lost its way, or that things change, and or they might have bad experience, and so that now they're part of the contingent online that admittedly has had some very valid points about how there's been that kind of animosity and sometimes tension. uh so honestly, I don't know if, like, off the top of my head, the best way to re-engage
Right.
those fans, because at times maybe they don't want to be re-engaged with. Maybe
Right.
maybe they have had that. And again, it's not to say that we will still try. Like, we still, you know, we will still encourage people to come out, to volunteer, to come out to our events, you know, to come in, and if they want to say, if they want to come back and they want to re it, then we'll open bring them back with open arms, as I tell people. I'm not a hard person to spot at the tailgates. You guys, see me all the time at the
Hmm.
tent. I am easily approachable. I am easily someone who, if if this is your first time, I will, I'll try to make it feel like you've been here, for countless tailgates. Like, I love seeing people, both new and returning. Um, and for that new generation, whether they be young, whether they be old, I want them to feel like, like they're having a good time. And so I always try to get them, because sometimes they might be coming by themselves and they might not feel like they can have anyone to talk to. And so I always try to get them, interacting with anyone around, because you've seen the atmosphere around the table. Like,
Hmm.
it can get wild, it can get crazy, but also it can be very familial, it can be very welcoming. And if it's not Pulame, putting her arm around someone, or then Jessica bringing around the various jello shots that
Yep.
that are around, or
Yeah.
just if you're hanging around us, you'll see myself Ken
Mm-hmm.
and Mike just talking to people and just interacting. And I think, to me, getting those new people to feel like, like their family, to kind of feel like they're welcome. To me, that is how I like to go about it. And I've said this to our board, and it started to the end of last season, started to kind of be implemented of, if you're around, if you're not working the tailgate, just walk around, say hi to people. Walk around,
Right.
just bring people. If you see someone, I've seen people who were new, and next thing you know, they get you know into the orbit that is Mike and Terry's truck. And
Mm-hmm.
and that side with
Mhm.
the with the ski shots, and
Yep.
and all that. And like, you get over there, and all of a sudden you're talking with with a ton of people, and you're really getting to involved. And then you know uh, get involved with with the march. And I know you know that's how some people have gotten to become capos, or start to get involved,
Mm-hmm.
is just really joining in on that. So I definitely think that that is a big thing for this year, especially with the uncertainty. I think having people feel like they can make a difference, or they can at least, you know, become part of something larger than themselves, to me, always is fun. At the end of the day, I love, I love, volunteering at the tailgates. I love, working the game days, because to me, it's become something where it's like, yeah, am I getting paid for this? No, but am I enjoying myself? Yeah, I'm having a great time, and I'm helping people have a good time. And really, that's kind of what you want. And I think that's the best way I think we can kind of bridge the gap. And even, as I've seen, like, I've seen, we've seen, I've seen, listen, I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
And it's, as I say, I want the young, I want the new generation to come in and feel like they can put their stamp on this. And people like Baby Kyle,
Yeah.
who has taken, the game day stuff and the YouTube stuff, and grown with it, and had a great time. Bringing in young members like that, to me, that is showing that the teens, that the youth are really still interested in coming out to games. Because you're always unsure of how you can get the kids to come out and really feel like they're enjoying the tailgate. And I think slowly but surely, I think we can start to do that, and through one way or another, they'll really start to feel like they can make their difference and make their imprint on it. So I hope to see more of the youths, as
Yeah.
they come in and really feel like they can make that impact. And as I tell people, like, if you see me around the tailgate lot, which I'm there basically from 1:30 until basically midnight. Like, it's almost an all day thing for me, and I love it. And if you see me, come say hi. you know Talk to me about anything. It's soccer, D&D, movies. If you got me about something, you will have my attention. And I will you know gladly take the time to sit down and get to know you. And that's how I think we connect, is just getting down to a basic conversation of, hey, how are you doing?
No, and that's the biggest thing I would say is, getting back to the basics, like you said, back to having fun. I think the biggest thing, and you've seen it, Justin, is people on social media will say, "Oh, the sons of Ben bow down to the ownership."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or, you
or
know,
or that we get the perks, and
Oh,
yeah,
and all this
yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, remind me what perks I'm getting for the volunteer position. Like, I'm doing this for essentially the amount of hours that would be a second job. Like, I think that mindset
yeah, it's that
has.
perception for some. It's the perception is reality. So, My final question, then we're going to go talk about the big event this weekend is how does the board change that perception to the casual fan, to maybe even the hardcore fan that, has this predisposed, and that those are always the hard ones to break, right? The predisposed ones. You're not 9 times out of 10, you're not going to break them. But if I'm making sense, just getting back to, hey, here's who we are, here's what we're about, and here's how we're supporting the club, you know?
I think those are all pretty valid points, and I will say this. I said it, during the town hall led by Mike. Transparency, accountability, honesty. Like,
Mhm,
I've been president now just over a month, and I made it a point that we would get meeting minutes released
mhm.
for our board meetings. They've been released in
Yep.
a format that is easily digestible and something that shows what we are discussing. You know, holding, and the big thing too with accountability, as we've seen on social media, there are things are tense right now,
Hmm.
and not just like and not just holding the board accountable, which I have communicated to the board
Hmm.
that, listen, times are tense right now, and it's not that the fans dislike us or don't trust us. It's there's a lot of uneasiness about the team, and right now that can kind of lead to vents with stuff that may not be directed directly at us, but they're trying to find an outlet for that,
Hmm.
and so I always think, like, that accountability for us, but also, you said we're not really gonna shake that someone who's predisposed to that mindset that,
Hmm.
as we talked about, starting with a clean slate for the season, for the team, for the board, having new people on the board. If people aren't willing to shed that mindset, I can say all I want. I can, sit down with them outside, of the lot or in person or online and try to, ch- change their mind till I'm blue in the face. If they're not willing to listen, if they're not willing to be open to the change that is going to happen, that I've feel in a month has already occurred,
Hmm.
then that's on them for holding those grievances, those preconceived grudges. And I'm not gonna shame them if they're still members. They're still members. They may not love the board, and may not, but that is what it is. But I can hope to at least try, and as I say, like, I'm reachable, you know, via email, via Facebook, via Twitter, via Blue Sky, via Instagram. Like,
Right.
I'm around. I have been very open and transparent about, if you DM me, I will respond. It may not be the message that you're willing to hear about if I'm not willing to, you know, protest the team right now.
Hmm.
I will give you the open and honest reason why I don't feel that at this time it's a productive, use of our time, but that it will be 100% considered. And trust me, it's on our radar. And so, at the very least, if, as I said, if people don't love what I have to say, at least they'll be appreciative that I'm being honest with them and being direct with
Hmm.
them, because, you know, at the very least, that's what I try to do, and that's what I always try to. I ran on, and that's what I try to be there about. Is, listen, I might not, as I say, I might not be everyone's cup of tea, but at the very least, I'm going to be to the point, and you know, whether that's something that people want, that is up to them. But I hope that people will at least understand where I'm coming from, and it's a place of passion, it's a place of supporting the team, of being there, of someone who's been around the sport basically since I was able to walk. So it's something that I hope people understand, and you know that's something that I've been really excited about, and that's why I was happy to run, and I was even more than honored when I won, which I still kind of pinch myself, realizing that that enough people trusted me to help lead this group. So I've been honored, and I hope to live up to whatever,
Mhm.
expectations or goals they have for me. But as I say, I'll try my best, and I hope to get you know as much out of at least to start this season as I can.
Yeah, I think people appreciate that openness
Yeah.
and transparency because, whether they agree with things or not, at least, you are putting things out there, you're open, you're transparent about it. I think that really will go a long way for
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, it's like I said, look where you guys are standing on things, showing
Yeah.
here's what we're doing, and it's encouraging.
Mm.
I think that's something you see a lot of. Oh, well, we did this, we did this. It's like you're not gonna please everybody.
Yeah, and that's the reality. You can't
Yeah.
please everyone, but I really do appreciate what you're putting out there. So, and let's talk about the Help Kick Hunger event this Saturday. And we are excited to go down for that as well. And what if anything can you share about, some fun prizes or anything else, to get people excited for it?
So, as we've said, the 2025 Health Cake Hunger is once again at Broken Goblet Brewing, or in
Hmm.
Bensalem. This year from 12 to 4, we got ourselves an extra hour. Um, right now, weather's looking pretty solid. Obviously, it's indoor, but it's looking pretty solid. Um, in terms of prizes, I mean, I think the big prize and the one that everyone's been clearing about all last year, the Precious U2 kit.
Yes, yes. I told people fight me for that. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, you Jill, get in line because I
Oh, I
think there
know.
we
Oh, I know.
honestly, if it wasn't an auction, we might just be, doing a an MMA, the Royal Rumble and just and just throwing everyone in there saying, "All right, last person, in the
Yeah.
ring gets the jersey." But I think that's one of the biggest. We have a number of big prizes. I think one that I am happy that was donated is a premium detailing kit
Ooh.
from Delaware Subaru.
Oh,
Oh.
nice,
And it does not have to be a Subaru. It's worth around, I believe, a $300 value.
nice.
Uh, and so our partners at Delaware Subaru were more than gracious enough to donate that prize. Uh, we have a few other prizes, including some of our local pub partners, like Zed's Brewing, has donated a little bit of a prize pack. Uh, gotten a local winery that my father has still worked at Amathea Vineyards down in
Mm-hmm.
Atco. Um, and there's a number of solid prizes. I'm very excited about this year because I think obviously with it being my first Hellkick Hunger as Sons of Ben president, I think it's something where I hope to really, listen, we this is supporting a very good cause. It's
Mm-hmm.
supporting the Bernadine Center, which is a local shelter
Absolutely.
right down the road from the stadium.
Yep.
Um, And last year, sister, as I joked, last year, sister's van was basically dragging down the ground, uh, as she was going down 95. And my hope for this year is that her van, you know, is just as close to drag with all the food donations. And you know, for all it's worth, I would say it does a lot of good for the community, and that is one of the things that I really want to push for this year is to do a lot more to give back, to ramp up our philanthropic efforts from the Sons of Ben. Part of our mission is not just to grow the game and to support the club, but also to grow the community, to really improve because we all live here. We're all hardworking members of the community. We all
Mm-hmm.
want our community to thrive, and obviously there are aspects of the community that could use our help, and the
Mm-hmm.
Burning Center right now is one of those. They, if you are unable to attend, you can always donate directly to the Bernstein Center. You can also donate through our the moment on our shop on Big Cartel. So I hope everyone can make it out. Tickets are still available. We are a last minute push. Um, like I said, if nothing, that U2 kit is gonna do a lot of good, and I think that could be the big auction prize. I think that really brings in a lot of donations, and say most of the funds, obviously, after our cost to both Broken Goblet and Cafe Dilla, um, we are trying to max. We always, as last year, we try to maximize as much of the donations as we can. So please, everyone, come out. As I said, I know times are a bit tough right now. I know, obviously, there are a lot of uncertainty in the landscape of this country, of you know cost of goods going up, of everything, and with that also the team's performance is not great, so there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of doubt, but at the very least, if you can do, even if you can't go, but you can bring by food donations, we always appreciate that, and I think you know doing some good for our community, I think is the very least we can do, and I'm more than honored to help be a even a small part of this push to do a bit of good.
Yeah, well, I for one had a great time last year when we went, and
Mhm.
looking forward to this year. And I'm very interested to see, you know, the interest that, you know, there is for that Union 2 jersey, but just all the more proof that they need to sell the U2 jerseys, okay? Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah.
When we were at Frisco,
Yeah, it was
and that we saw like they were selling the North Texas ones, before the next Pro Cup, and we're like, yeah, why can't Union 2, sell theirs? But anyway, I digress. I could get on a whole soapbox there.
yes, you could.
I could. But yeah, so we're looking forward to a great event, and I know like earlier in the week I was like, "Uh-oh, weather's not looking great," but it kind of shifted, and now, tomorrow's looking like not
Yeah.
good. So I'm glad that, it looks like it should be good, and I hope there's a good turnout, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you guys are accepting food donations like last year, correct?
Correct?
Yeah, so yeah, if you're listening, you're going, anything, any donation, big or small, is greatly appreciated, obviously. And yeah, we're looking forward to the event. It's going to be an exciting time. But anyway, Justin, this has been a fun fireside chat, so to speak. I really appreciate your time. Where can people find you
You can find me just about anywhere.
at?
Facebook, obviously, I am Justin Friedberg. Uh, on both X and Blue Sky, I am at Union Nut 26. On Instagram, and on Instagram, I am at Goofy Goober 26. I am always constantly sharing soccer, D&D, food, beer, just general goofiness, and that's definitely where I'm the most active. You can also find me, on game days down at the lot, especially as it gets closer to uh, you know, the season. I will definitely be there more and more. So I hope to see everyone down, but if not, like I said, on social media, I am always, a DM away. I always love to get into a chat with people. So reach out, come say hey, and you know, don't be a stranger. Like I said, I love to see people around the stadium, and I hope more people can come out this year, especially because with all the unknowns, I think, you know, supporting the team is about the one constant that I know I can count on. So I'm excited for this season, and I hope to see a lot more people, even some new faces out there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, well, thanks again for coming on. This was a great chat, and we do look forward to seeing you at the at the event on Saturday and at the games moving forward. Can't wait to get back into going to the games because, it's always a great time. Win or lose, we love it. We love going to it.
Absolutely. So this has been all for this episode of the One Team We Agree On.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, leave us comments because we love hearing from you. And thanks to everyone who's been watching and engaging with us in social media and everything. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, and until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
We'll see you at the game.